Good evening and welcome to the first of two Inside Government shows for the spring 2022 semester here at Cayuga Community College. This is a show that is broadcast on Spectrum, Verizon Fios, the Auburn Regional Media Access. For many people, that's better known as ARMA, as well as the college's radio station, 89.1. I'm your host, Guy Cosentino. Our first guest tonight is the new chair and, in fact, a new member of the Cayuga County Legislature, David Gould, who was elected in November to represent Fleming and Aurelius in the 15-member legislature. And oddly enough, on January 1st, he was elected the chair as the freshman of the legislature to take over that 15-member board and lead it. It is a board that does have a GOP majority of sorts, but it's with weighted voting. If a Republican member is either sick or opposes something, they don't have a majority. It has 5 Democrats, 1 conservative, and 2 non-affiliated members making up the majority of the county legislature. The chairman on January 1st, I saw him at a swearing-in. He said, "I'd love to come on and talk about what's going on in the county." I'm not sure he knew what he was getting into at that particular time as he laughs right now. But we wanted to have him in the first week of our shows to talk about the transition from being a very popular sheriff to a private citizen and then sinking your feet in, I'm not even going to say your toes, in the deep end right away. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much, Guy.
So first of all, besides anything else, and before getting into transition, how are you and your wife doing?
We're doing great.
Obviously, COVID has been with us for 2+ years now. You're both doing well.
Like everybody else, almost everybody else. I had it twice. Sue had it once, but we're doing great. Wasn't as bad as a lot of people, thank God.
And so I'm thinking COVID is minor to this transition you went. So first of all, you were the only candidate who ran unopposed for the county legislature this year. So we didn't have you here in the forum to answer questions. And we're not going to ask you all of Jeremy Boyer's questions. But
that's a good thing.
Why did you decide to run for the legislature?
Yeah, I decided this several years ago when I was sheriff. I think you know this, but I told everybody that'll listen. I attended over 420 meetings as sheriff at the legislative meetings. And probably my second year, I am thinking, is this how it works? And, you know,
a month and a half in, is this how it works?
No, it's not how it works, believe me. But, you know, they were either saying, are you crazy? Or congratulations. And most of is the first one. So, but I wanted to do it. I wanted to be a legislator. I had no idea, no intentions of being the chair when I decided to run when Paul Pinckney retired.
So, in essence, you've gone from what was you headed a department, one of the larger departments of the county. Then you became a private citizen, and then you got back into the fray. So how has that transition been from a department head to citizen to chair?
It's been, I think the word is interesting. It's, you know, when I retired as sheriff in 2018, I said, you know, I really want a break. I want the summers, I want to go out and do some stuff, and you know, and I got bored. I really did. I got bored. I wanted to do something.
I hear that your wife financed the election just so you would. Yeah. Susan said he's got to do something.
Get him out of here.
But you're still on a lot of boards.
Yeah, I'm still on dozens of boards, absolutely, and I'll stay on them forever. You know, until the time runs out. And I enjoy it. I learn something every meeting, every month.
So normally it would be thought that if you had a county administrator, they would be doing a lot of the day-to-day responsibilities. You don't have a county administrator. We'll get to that in a second. But what are you responsible for now as the chair? It's more than just chairing a meeting of the legislature. You have some day-to-day responsibilities, correct?
I have all day-to-day responsibilities. Okay. It's been 12, 14 hours a day since I started. And there's just so much to do. I mean, every time I turn around, there's another email coming in. You got to sign the grants, the contracts. We got 4 unions up for contract this year, which has never happened before because they've always been staggered. But now this year, all 4 of them are up in the county.
So what's your average work week look like?
I usually go in between 7 and 7:30, and depending on meeting nights, I get out at 7:30 or 8.
Because you're attending legislative committee, so you're going to Ways and Means, Public Safety, all those as well. So I do want to ask about the county administrator. So it has now been literally since you left as sheriff, almost within 4 months.
Almost, yeah.
So in May of 2019, we have not been with a county administrator. Right. So it's been 2 election cycles.
Right.
where is the county in hiring somebody or looking at the position?
Right now, we are looking at the position. Myself and the Human Resource Director, brand new. She's brand new. She's great. She came from Lemoyne. But anyhow, we're looking at resumes and going through them. There's probably, I think, 15 to date, and we're going through them and slowly but surely, and we'll start interviews probably within the next couple of weeks. So it'll be the chair's choice, which is my choice, to pick this person because that's an assistant to the chair.
So assistant to the chair, but what I'm talking about is going back to a county administrator. Is that, or is it? So I count votes when I look at things, and I don't think you have enough votes to hire a county administrator again. But if you had any semblance of a higher number, it looks like you have a higher number who would like to change the government to a county executive.
Well, we're in discussions with that too as we speak, and we got to do redistricting and form of government. Those are two things we're working on right now, and we should know that probably within a few months.
What would you like to see? Would you like to see a county executive? Would you like to see a county administrator? Or do you want to go with this system where you're going to have an assistant and the chair is, what I don't want to say superpowers like Batman and Superman, but extended power?
It's a tough choice. I really don't want to see another county administrator. We've gone through 4 of them, I believe.
In 10 years.
In 10 years. And I've worked with all of them. And they were good people. It's just the legislature itself that's taking authority away from the legislature. And some of these people do not want that.
Well, but it also was poorly structured.
It was very poorly structured.
I mean, it's not, we have to delineate, it is not a city, it's not like the city manager, which has certain authorities. It is a administrator, which has much fewer authorities and reports to 15 bosses.
Exactly. Directs, the legislature directs.
You also mentioned redistricting, and we can do this at a future date, but this weighted voting, because, well, let's go through the math. Right now, you have 7 Republicans, 5 Democrats, 1 conservative, and 2 non-affiliated. One of those non-affiliated, I think, meets with the Republicans, and 1 meets with the Democrats, I think. Yep. So you don't have a solid majority that you can guarantee. If you went back to the Herb Marshall or Ralph Stanbrook days, you don't have.
No, that was 11-4.
Yeah, those were solid. And whether it was Democrats or Republicans, you don't have that anymore.
Not that much majority. No, if everybody stays together on one side, on the Republican caucus, and Andy Dennison, who's an independent, joins that caucus, then we do have the votes.
But it almost is a government by coalition, it seems.
At this time, it is.
Because you also, so you've gotten some criticism online, personally, I'm sure. I got some interesting emails. Many of them praiseworthy of you. Can I just say?
Absolutely.
People all think you're crazy, to be honest. but and I mean that you and I have been friends for 30 plus years, so I would say, but the criticism you get from Republicans is they're not happy because you put 2 Democrats as chairs, and some Republicans and Democrats are critical because you made the chair of the Ways and Means a conservative. You put a non-affiliated person in charge of public works, which goes to the point that you can't win anything. So, but when I look at that, it to me was to find a coalition that you could build. That it's not always you got to wait. You got to always count to 8 votes.
Absolutely.
To go beyond that. Am I correct?
Absolutely correct. The reason I did that, the 2 Democrats that are in charge of the committees are people that have been there, that know it. I did this not for one party or another. I did it for the best working conditions and the working people in charge of those 6 committees that will work together and work with their
Elaine Daly, let me just pick on her. You worked with her for many years as a department head. So she's Health and Human Services. So you mentioned redistricting. So I don't think the lines have been drawn since the legislature changed the number of legislators. So it's 2-3 decades now. Is this going to be done before the end of 22 because of this weighted voting? So it's such an unequal system.
It will be done definitely by the end of 2022. And we're working on it as we speak. We've got the Board of Election people came up 2 weeks ago to one of our meetings, went through all of the diagrams of what counties are, what towns may change, and we're working on it as we speak. We've got some choices. We stay with the 15. We go down to 11, or we go down to 9. Those are the 3 choices we're working on.
Is there any consensus that you're getting? What are you hearing from legislators? Because when many of them were here for forums back in November with Mr. Boyer, 11 and 13 kept coming up. Everyone didn't like. I don't know that anybody who won some of the other candidates who may have ran were fine with 15, but I don't think anyone who ran said you just should stick with 15. Do you see this as being a smaller legislature?
I do. Yeah, whether it be 13, 11, or 9. We just started discussing this at the last Ways and Means. So it'll continue, and it will be done, I think, fairly quickly.
Okay. Because
as government quickly.
No, but it stalled last year.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, I think we had Aileen McNabb Coleman, the then chair.
Mm-hmm.
She kept saying it was coming. I don't know that anything ever got before the legislature.
It will be coming.
So I want to ask you, I don't want to get into the whole January 1st mask resolution. We've moved past that because the governor's changed her mind, but I do want to ask about masks around your facility. Mm-hmm. So if you go to the legislature's meeting in person, correct?
Yes.
So you haven't had a meeting, though, yet since the mask mandate has been removed. Do people have to have masks? Do legislators have to have masks when they go to a legislative committee meeting?
And I removed that the day that the governor removed hers.
So how about the public? Can the public come to these meetings?
Yes. Well, I should say that no. They're still remote, and until probably next month I may change that, but it is remote. And some of the department heads still call in remote or Zoom in. But the masks, nobody in any of the county buildings have to wear a mask now.
So county facilities are not required.
I got to clarify that. Health departments, unlike that. Health department, the college,
those
mental
areas,
health.
yes. So there are areas like schools, and we'll get into this with Kathleen Cuddy in a few minutes. There are certain that the governor has still mandated that you require. Okay. Yep. So a long time ago, in a galaxy far away, it seems, the then chairman of the legislature, the then county administrator, the city manager, I think it was Doug Selby at the time, Mayor Quill, used to get together regularly. They kind of fell off by the wayside. And I know the thought has been, well, it was part of COVID, but some of that fell off. Are you, because I know you and Mayor Quill together have known each other professionally and politically for years, are you going back to that system?
We've already met. We met 2 weeks ago.
And that was a larger group, though, that had like school people, had the president of the college. Yep. How about just I say 4, but you don't have a county administrator right now, but the county and the city starting to meet again?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I took over, Mike called me, the mayor called me, and then Jeff called me and wanted to start meeting again because it's been a while. It's been a couple of years. And I said, absolutely. I mean, the city's got to work with the county and vice versa. We just do. And we invited the president of the college and Jeff Parazola, superintendent of schools, because a lot of what we're doing involves those two entities.
And do you see those bigger meetings continuing as you go?
We've already got another day.
So we also got 3 questions for 3 subject areas. 2 are very familiar to you. 1 may not be as familiar from a law enforcement point of view, but you do have a background. You were 3 terms as sheriff of Cayuga County. The first one's on this issue of bail reform. Mm-hmm. And so the state legislature passed some measures that, while Albany may have been supportive of it, or at least downstate members of the legislature, it has been having a negative effect, some perceive, in upstate. First of all, do you agree with that?
Absolutely not. I hate this new law.
You hate? Okay, so you're okay. So what would you like to see done?
I'd like to see it go back to where it was. The judges now, under this new, whatever you want to call it, bail reform, there's several names for it. The judges have no authority
Use the ones
anymore.
that you can use on television, please.
Bail reform. It's the only one I can use.
Program. Please remember that.
But the judges have no discretion anymore. It's taken away from them. The state legislature and the governor, ex-governor, put this into place, I think, 2 years ago maybe, and it's just been devastating for all the citizens of this state, especially the citizens upstate. There's people that commit 40, 50 crimes, literally.
Right.
It's an exaggeration a little bit, but not much. And they're out. They don't even go to jail. They get bail. No bail, and they're out. And I'm talking felonies.
Right.
So it's just horrible.
And what we tend to read more about in the newspaper, especially I would say stories in the Post-Standard versus the Citizen, is some of these individuals escalate their crimes to a next level, and sometimes now it's physical to victims,
right? Whether
it's somebody getting hurt or somebody getting killed.
Well, it's emboldened all these criminals. It really has. This new law is emboldening everyone. They can do anything they want with impunity. And
So
they
what
know
was
they're
the-
going to get arrested, and they know
so-
they're not going to go to jail.
Philosophically, this came in right after you left as sheriff.
Yes, it did, thank God.
What was the reason for it?
I think it was because the minority focus in this state was the certain categories of people could not make bail, others could. I think
Okay.
that's the reason it started, which is a legitimate reason, but it just went way too far.
So your theory is don't throw the system out, fix the system.
Yeah, exactly.
So what would you like to see done?
Well, the biggest thing is let the judges have discretion. They cannot, under certain circumstances, under most circumstances, they cannot put somebody in jail, even for bail, let alone anything else.
So do you see, obviously this is an election year, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. It's an election year. Do you see this being changed or curbed at all?
I don't. I follow what's going on in Albany. We've written letters, everybody from upstate, the state police, the DA's association, Sheriff's Association. Everybody is in
And I know your
disagreement.
successor has been very vocal about
Absolutely.
how bad this is.
And any leader of any police organization in the state should be upset with this. And every DA's office should be upset with this, except for maybe a couple of those strange people down in New York City.
Well, and you do have a DA right now who's not prosecuting some other crimes that have nothing to deal with bail reform.
Absolutely.
I think it's I don't want to say which borough, but I think it's the Manhattan district. So the other law enforcement question that comes up, and I know it came up at the New York Conference of Mayors on, I think, Monday, here was these change to marijuana laws and decriminalization, but more importantly, or legal, I shouldn't say decriminalization, more legalization. The issue that seemed to occur with those folks at the NICOM meeting was, great, Albany passed this law, but you put no infrastructure.
None.
So I think the person who's heading up this office said they're supposed to have 200 employees for this. He's lucky if he has 60 right now. So you have 23 towns, and you got villages. It looks like a patchwork of, and I know the city police just raided a smoke shop. They found some marijuana plus illegal cigarettes. We'll get to that maybe or maybe not. What should be done? How is regulation occurring, and is any of this falling as an unfunded mandate on the county?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It's a typical Albany move. You pass a law, you pass a resolution, whatever it may be in Albany, and you don't fund it through the state funding. It's mandated to the counties and the cities, and they've been doing this for generations. They pass a law. Some of them are absolutely stupid, and they won't give you money to enforce these laws.
So on this, we're going to try to have Chief Sladen in a couple of weeks when we return from break. But so in his case, there was a smoke shop, and illegal cigarettes are one issue. Mm-hmm. So that, I'm assuming, is an enforcement issue because you get taxes from it.
That's exactly what it is.
It's a tax issue. The marijuana issue, though, is a separate issue because there are are there dispensaries right now?
No, there's one dispensary, and that's with the Cayuga Nation.
Okay.
And that's they're exempt.
And they're exempt from everything. I know you're on the periphery because of some of your district is in the land claims.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Fleming, yeah.
Fleming
and
is.
Arulas.
Yeah. What are you doing on that front, or is that a federal issue that's I don't want to say it's a back burner because that's unfair to say because you try to pay attention to everything, but that's not in the top 10 issues you're dealing with right now, is it?
It is for me.
It is for you, okay.
Because I've been working with this since the year 2000. When I was a state police senior investigator, I first met the Cayuga Nation at a crime that was committed over the Union Springs gas station.
Okay.
So I've been working with them and know them for 22 years. So it's not on the back burner for me. Okay. I really think.
So what's the issues for the county right now?
Well, probably they don't believe in taxes, as you know.
Yeah.
They don't pay taxes under sovereign.
Well, they do believe in taxes for non-Indian
exactly.
locations because I don't think the gas station's in your district, is it?
No, that's Springport.
It's over the line. Mm-hmm. So obviously I have driven by there on the way to Ithaca or to Wells, and there is a conga line of cars because it's cheap. It's like Costco.
Exactly.
But for a different reason.
Exactly.
So not that I'm plugging either one. because you don't get revenues from either of those two entities. But so is it just the tax issue, or are the land issues
Well,
secondary?
the land issue, the land and trust.
Okay.
That's the big thing right now. The land and trust, and the BIA under the Department of Interior has been working on that for years.
Yeah, so Bureau of Indian Affairs. So do they regularly meet with the county?
No,
okay.
not at all. No,
not at all.
We haven't met with them since I was sheriff, and that was probably, by the time we met with them, probably 5-6 years ago now. That's the last contact I've had with BIA. Although I will have contact with them again because of my position.
So I mentioned the New York Conference of Mayors. I know the Association of Counties. I don't know if they have met or they will be meeting.
They're meeting next month.
And will you be going to that?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm hoping to. I'm trying to get a lot of the legislators to go down.
Okay. So I want to talk about that just from a training point, because I know you put a lot of money when you were sheriff into training.
Absolutely.
You consider this training for legislators.
Yes. That's exactly what it's for.
Okay.
Yep.
And so so I'd love to have you on after that, because I'm sure the Association of Counties has a whole list of things.
They have a lot of things
up there. So the other policy issue is not law enforcement, though it's on the periphery. So the reason the person asked me to ask you was twofold. One is you're chairman of the legislature, but the second one is you have a deep background in human services. And anybody who knows you mentioned before we talked, you're on 20 plus 30 boards, but many of those are human services. You've been a big supporter of the United Way, a lot of other not-for-profits. So this issue of homelessness seems to have stymied the legislature, and it's very clear from this email. So Ray Bazzari, who was your outgoing, a good friend of yours, Cayuga County Community Services, he retired at the end of last month, beginning of this month.
Yep.
He apparently made a pitch to the legislature through an email, and I was sent a copy of the email, which went to everyone, to deal with the growing cost of homelessness. I'm reading this because I want to be exact on this. It said that this is costing the county hundreds of thousands of dollars that could have been addressed by a previous legislature, but they decided not to invest in creating a homeless shelter. First of all, are you aware of this? So the issue had come up, and oddly enough, I was leaving an appointment today. This person is not related, to the best of my knowledge, to the person who sent this. This was a human services person. Somebody talked to me, and I'm going to forward you the email because I sent it to your chair of your Human Services Committee. This was an issue of there's no good shelter for men, let alone men with children. So are you familiar with the issue of the global issue?
Yeah, I am, pretty much. As I said, from the history of being on Cayuga Council, a lot of committees and boards that deal with this. We had an incident, I shouldn't say incident, well, it is an incident, that the city had last week about the Grand Ave Motel.
Right.
I'm sure that anybody that read the paper
I think this is what's driving this, so okay.
That day, the day before it happened, the new director of social services came up to me, said, this is what's going on, this is what we have to do, the codes is closing this down, we have 12 people.
This is the Code Blue regulations. Right. Okay. So I read the email, so I want to quote you directly from what the email says. It says, this is from Mr. Bazzari, and again, I'm assuming this is from Mr. Bazzari. It was sent to me with the theory that it was from Mr. Bazzari. So It says, the current process of housing singles in motels is extraordinarily expensive and dangerous. Damages, human trafficking, drug use, out-of-county troublemakers setting up shop. Code Blue regulations mean no matter what they do, we still must house them. Do you agree with that analysis?
I don't agree with it, but it's true. I don't agree with the process of it, but the fact is true.
Right. You don't agree that the state should be taking it back. Okay. So, as chair, the county did have the option to create a homeless shelter. I think the records retention facility out on County House Road. I think they may have turned it over to the hospital for records retention, but it was the nursing home at one point. The person who writes this says this is not a department head issue. This is a county legislature issue. And so their question to you is, what is the county legislature going to do to address this crisis that could reduce crime, human suffering, and provide long-term cost savings for taxpayers? Because in the email it says, I think there was an expenditure in the last year of $1.5 million to motels and hotels, motels for housing.
Yep.
What?
I'm sure that's true.
So where's is this something the legislature?
I don't know who wrote that, and I just want to make it clear that we could do, the only thing we could do as legislators, because this is state law, And they get about $95 a day, depending on where we put them, each person. And we do have to take care of them.
Right.
It's state law that we have to take care of them.
But is it time for the legislature to really look at the investment in a homeless shelter? Specifically, you have this issue. I will tell you, I was at a human services organization. I've been gone from there for 16 years, and we were dealing with homelessness. Mm-hmm. In fact, we may have been the first agency that kind of brought it to Elaine Daly's attention, Mike Mancini, and several others. That was in the early 2000s. Is it time for this county to make that investment? And I know the county's not necessarily big investors in buildings. Some of your legislators would, if they could get away with duct tape, twine, and baling wire, they would do that. But doesn't it pass time?
Well, it probably is, Guy. And then, of course, I can't speak for the past legislature. But right now we're working on what we're going to do with the county office building. That's a major project. That's the number one project right now. Is that building is the windows are leaking. I mean, there's so much to do to that. We either got to fix that, replace a lot of things in it, build a new building, rip that down, or try to sell it if we build a new building.
What would you like to do?
There's another choice, to find another location that's already there, and we're looking at that. We had a meeting the other day about it.
So possibly the mall or something.
Possibly the mall, possibly other places.
Would you keep it in the city of Auburn if you could?
It's a good question. I don't know. It all depends on the price. Okay. I mean, if we have to pay $30 million just to keep it in the city of Auburn, where we can move it, very close to Auburn and save $20 million or $15 million of taxpayers' money, that we have to take that into consideration.
I don't want to let you out of here because you are, in essence, one of the heads of the Republican Party in Cayuga County. You may not feel like that
at times,
but John Cacco has announced that he is not seeking re-election. Do you have a favorite in the election for Congress at this stage?
I don't. I know they're coming out of the woodwork. I know that ever since John announced that, which surprised me. The paper called me that day that John announced, and John and I talk all the time. And I talked to him a couple of days before that, and he never said anything. So it was kind of a surprise to me.
Well, I know originally before he ran, you were talked about to replace Jim Walsh when he was the congressman. Do you regret not doing that?
Yeah, no, not at all. No, not at all.
Okay.
No, I was approached by New York City, Albany, and Washington, and you got to travel away 4 days a week and away from your families. And no, 30 years ago, I would have done.
So the state GOP is meeting later in the month. I think they're going to meet in Nassau County. Will you be attending their convention?
I was asked. I got an email to attend. I'm not sure if I'll be able to go or not, but if I don't, someone will go in my place.
And is there somebody you're supporting for governor at this stage, or is it too early?
No, it's kind of too early. I thought that this governor was going to help a little bit more upstate because she's an upstate lady, as you know. And so far, I have not seen that. So I know there's a couple of Republicans. There's actually 3 that I know of that are running. I think Joe Holland. Did you hear about that? No. I think Joe might be running for Attorney General. He's talked to me several times, emailed me.
He's got a little bit of a connection to here.
I supported him last time when he dropped out, but I hope he's still in the running, and I hope I can get him up to Cayuga County to talk. I think Joe, of course, everybody that doesn't know Joe, his dad was Brud. The Holland Stadium was named after him, All-American football, ambassador to Sweden. Not Joe, his dad, right. Yeah. But Joe's a smart man. He's an attorney. He knows a lot of people in New York City.
I think he was here for a book signing about 2 or 3 years ago.
He was.
I remember. So, love to have you back after the New York State Association of Counties meeting, if you're available and willing to come back after all of this.
I'm always willing to come talk to you. You know that.
We would like to thank our guest, is the new chair of the Cayuga County Legislature, David Gould. I want to thank him for joining us to give us a county update, and we are looking forward to having him back regularly to give county updates. We will return in just a moment with Cayuga County Public Health Director Kathleen Cuddy to talk about the local response to COVID as well as the flu season. We will not have shows next week. I know this is our first week, but we're off next week because of the public school break. But we'll return at the beginning of the month with a whole month of Tuesday and Thursday shows throughout that month. Among the guests that we have will be New York State Senator Pamela Helming will be in the studio, Cayuga County Community College President Brian Durant, the Auburn Housing Authority Stephanie Hutchinson, the United Way's Catherine Dennis, the YMCA's Melissa Kartner, who will be talking about the Y Camp. Can't wait for summer. And we will, of course, have Auburn's school districts, Jeff Parazola and Lisa Greenan, to talk about the Auburn proposed budget that goes before voters in May. We also plan on having our annual Auburn Large School District Forum in person here in the studio on May 3rd. In between, though, you can send us your thoughts for questions or ideas for guests by sending them to cozguytho@aol.com or Inside Government, 141 Dunning Avenue, Auburn, New York. I'm Guy Cosentino for Cayuga Community College. We want to thank you for watching. Stick around for Kathleen Cuddy. Be safe, wear a mask, and we'll see you back in the studio soon.